Good morning. Great to be here, great space. So exactly, I think you set the topic right. So I'm sure there's many highly specialized people that know much more about digital twin than I do, but as a starter for the whole thing, I will also give some more basic notions, but also basic notions as the Commission actually sees it. And I'm also here to learn with you, from you later on, if we should integrate other aspects, if something in your opinion is more important. And I also want to know then from you which kind of research and innovation should be funded in your eyes on European level that can be done better on this very international level. So should be seen as a primer to hopefully lots of interactions later. So now let's see if this works. So we would start first with kind of my definition. Obviously that's not my definition, I'm not defining digital twins, I'm trying just to set common ground for all of us. And so looking a little bit in literature, I think that is one of the very short and very to the point definitions on what a digital twin actually can be. So on the one hand you have the physical system, then you have the virtual representation of the system, and that's going beyond the normal modeling, you have the interaction both sides. So the virtual world is feeding into the real world and vice versa. And voila, that would be kind of the shortest definition of a digital twin that I would use as a working definition. Actually, the term from where this comes, I mean, this is not that young, but also not that old. It's just first used in 2003. Maybe there are others that have heard something of this before, but let's say good 20 years, the term digital twin was around and became very much en vogue in the last years. But digital twins, now that we had the definition, are, at least as I see it, in foremost a decision support system. You are actually modeling something, you are trying to represent something that you can interact with, that will help you to understand if the decisions that you want to take will be the right ones, the most cost effective, and it will also in real time help you better steer flows of whatever kind, energy, transport, movements of people, water. So this is one of the Ds, but obviously these decision support systems can just work properly if the data that goes in is actually good, and it's crap in, crap out. So we cannot expect that the model actually delivers something good if we didn't do our homework before and got the data to feed the model proper in the first. And many dimensions are involved. So very often we talk about digital twins as very good 3D representation of a city that will help to engage with the stakeholders and show them things that are yet not there with 3D. In the most fancy part, most probably with 3D goggles, but it's something that will help the discussion, it will help to show what could be. Now it comes to a bit more the geeky part. So when it comes to modeling and representing a system, we often very much are expecting to get a deterministic answer, which means I've worked for the last 25 years with models, and in the beginning in flood forecasting, for instance, the politician would ask, yeah, is there now a flood? Do I have to evacuate, yes or no? That would be the deterministic decision, which if you are sincere as a scientist, you can normally not give, because you cannot give 100% accurate forecasts beyond a certain time horizon. So it becomes probabilistic. So we should also always think that these are representations that show a possibility, a possible future, most, in the best case, a very probable future, but obviously there we should not see it as something that sees exactly the future. And also it is not, these digital twins are more a help to imagine a future, and then maybe directly while imagining make it also better. So the digital twins actually give you a very, very good tool for discussing, to trying to run through scenarios, to try to get people involved on the good and the bad case, because you also want to know if somebody would not like what you're doing. It's not just that everybody says, that's great, let's go on, but it's a discussion tool that will help you then to come to a consensus and to something that can last in time. And then the digital T, we have many T's as well. So actually we are twinning systems. So the systems can be very easy or very straightforward to represent. So the first one I would have done from my own experience was a decision support system for the Nile and the Aswan Dam as its only control element. So you had incoming water, then you had a control element that you can open or not, and then you have the water that flows down. So that's rather linear. It was already very, I mean, it helps you a lot, but that's just one data input. It means there's no rain in more or less in Egypt, so everything that comes down the Nile is what I'm working with, and then I have the reservoir and simply the open or not open gate to steer what comes down. So you have long data sets, but it's still a linear data set over 100 years, and then you see what comes out because you have good experience over many, many years with what this dam actually does. So the digital twins we are talking about are much, much more complicated. Actually, they have many time scales and they are there to mimic transformations. We're building scenarios with this. With a normal decision support system like on the Nile, you're not really trying out scenarios. You have a policy and you run this policy and you just adapt the steering of the dam to it. So, but we can actually also extrapolate with this digital twin what would come, but the problem is still the data and the technologies, all the thing that goes in. So there's not just the one sensor on the top and the one sensor on the bottom. There are so many sensors, and actually, and I will go to this later also for the projects, it's still to be defined also what is the best density of sensors, which sensors do we need where, at which time intervals do they have to feed into the system to make it the best possible. And there we can actually try, and that's the good thing about the digital twins. In many of the projects, and I will come to this a little bit later, of the smart cities, it was in the past very often a hardware trial. So you were actually trying out solutions that you had calculated before, but that you thought were best. And then actually the devil was always in the detail, in the execution of that. And then the trial and error was actually on the hardware side, which is much more costly and takes much more time than what you can actually do with a digital twin. That's why digital twins are such a great thing. And then the last T is actually the transferability. In the smart cities programs over the last years, that was always something replicability, transferability. I don't even think you find it in most of the vocabularies, but it is something that simply means I do it here, and then with some tweaking I can do it also in another city or maybe in another district where the situation is slightly or maybe completely different. So with many hardware solutions that was really tough. With a digital twin, I think we're getting much closer to having a possibility to actually try something out, build a super digital twin for one city, and then take all the base notions that you learn from there and transfer it to another city, then obviously with other data sets, other sensor networks. But let's say it's much more transferable than just the mere hardware solutions. So again, I want to have this caveat that even I am not, I mean, I'm talking for the Commission, obviously, yes, but even in the Commission there are different points of view. So I'm coming from DG Energy, so obviously the first thing is we want to have more energy efficient solutions, We are actually pushing a lot for the positive clean energy districts idea, and that over many years already with lots of financing. But there's, for instance, DG Connect, our ICT specialists, and they are also looking for instance, energy data spaces. So organizing what you actually measure with all these sensors and all the data that you collect, and organize them in a way that they're actually reusable and understandable and standardized. And so my specialty is that I'm focusing on developing calls for proposals. So it was Horizon 2020 before, now it's actually Horizon Europe, but even there are many others that are not coming from the same smart city background than me. So we have digital twins all over the place. Just in the last year, the 2023, so things that are evaluated right now. I'm saying last year because obviously we published them in 22. So we have digital twins for battery cell production. We have digital twins for wind energy. We have digital twins for energy renovation. So first having a digital twin of the buildings that you want to renovate and then make them most cost effective. We have digital twins also, and that's the most, that's one of the biggest aspirations, but we are obviously just starting. That's why it says supporting the development. So actually a digital twin of the whole European and electricity system. There are lots of very good kind of decision support systems, digital twins, in many of the single actors, the TSO and the DSOs, transmission and distribution system operators. But let's say to have a full view of the whole of Europe, that's still something that is far away, but we would like also to go to this, and especially to support the RePower EU, which simply after the energy crisis, everything proposes a lot of solutions on how to get more renewable energy integrated, how to get more storage integrated, and therefore again you get a very complex system, and the digital twin hopefully can help then with the decision finding. So now we come to the specific calls that actually led to the last call on digital twins for positive energy districts. So over the 7 full years of Horizon 2020, the previous research and innovation program that we were running from the Commission, we had the lighthouse cities and lighthouse projects and smart cities and communities, many different names floating around. And in the end, it was a very successful program because it actually from some single projects developed into a very big cluster that groups 120 cities in these 18 projects. So that's something very rare that over a full duration of a framework program, you can actually maintain an idea and simply adapt the calls and make them more advanced every time, but the idea stayed the same. So they share many of the values that many of you maybe are also in this project. So there were 18 projects, some of them are still running, a total of 345 million that we put in. So you can also see that is serious money. So it also shows how serious the Commission is about this kind of approach. This 350 is just what we put in. There's in some cases a leverage factor of 1 to 10. For instance, London claimed something like that. So which means that might get also a 0 in the end on the total money moved and spent over that time horizon. But it's not about what we spent, but what we got out, and this 550 demonstration that we had in all the areas, because smart cities is not just the energy part for us, it's the mobility, it's the ICT part, it's actually the citizen engagement in all these solutions. And over this 7 calls, and in total they last from 2014, and the last one will come to a close in 2025. So more than a decade spanning of searching and trying together between the projects these things. But again, many of them, especially the first calls, were hardware trials. Towards the end of this, we started getting more into this digital twin idea and more in the modeling. And so then something happened. You see, first of all, it's now Horizon Europe, and this is something very cryptic, and maybe I don't have Okay. It's called Horizon Miss. What happened there? We're not missing something, but actually in the Horizon Europe, the new current framework program, all the stuff that we had done under smart cities was shifted under the new city missions. So missions are a new vehicle for research, but it goes beyond research and innovation. So, and it was thought that actually all this smart cities approach is perfectly fitting there. So it was all transferred there, and that was the first call, and it was, I mean, now we have actually a cent here, I hope also somebody from neutral part maybe, and that we'll have very good discussions with them later on their experiences so far, because they are going very much in this direction, and then we just spelled it out directly in the last call, and this last call is just, it closed in April, and has been evaluated now, was very successful, and from this one, and I hope somebody again is here also, 3 very good proposals were selected out of a big field of proposals, and this was really straightforward, putting both together. The positive clean energy district as the focus point of the smart cities projects, and the digital twins for them. So just going back very short, because that might be interesting also for the future for you, these missions, they're very straightforward. They want to help and push the climate neutrality of Europe in this specific case through making 100 cities climate neutral by 2030, that it is extremely tough. But at least it's an inspiration, and we hope we can get there. But that is the important thing here for the digital twin. The second is actually that it says that they should be hubs. So they should be not just one city and that's it, and then there's another city, and then there are one and other cities, but they are hubs for the other cities. And if they have digital twins that are actually much easier transferable than just saying, okay, that's how I implanted my hardware here, but if you can learn from the other cities how to build your smart city twin, then this is very helpful, and this is a very important tool for this mission to actually achieve its goals. Just an overview, obviously this is very well distributed over the whole of Europe because it's a European project. I mean, it's a European program, so that's why we were very put a lot of attention to not having just in some extremely well developed cities that already say, digital twin is an old story by now, but we really wanted to have it over the whole place, so the mission cities are well distributed over the whole of Europe. And for those who have not seen, so it goes a little bit back to just so that you know what the Commission is actually then really putting forward, and what we want to see actually in these digital twins when we talk about them. It's very much based on what I showed you before. So it's actually the main tool that should help to make these positive clean energy districts as cost efficient and as well functioning as possible. But, and this is the very important part here that I alluded to before, in many cases the data collection is not yet top. I mean, we can get much better because we still have to learn actually how dense does the sensor network have to be, what kind of sensors. Do we really need the very expensive sensors, or do we go for the more down-to-earth but reliable and easy sensors? So these are all things that in these projects I hope they come to a better insight also what this sensor network specification should be to run the digital twins in the best way possible. And obviously not forgetting the systems that already work well. So the digital twin can obviously always use what is there and what works well if it can be integrated. We don't want to push positive energy district twins on the cities just because it sounds so fancy. So obviously this means also, while we are very convinced that it's a superb way forward, these projects for us should also have a look, how much does it really cost? Is it actually cost effective? Where are the cost gaps? Where are the cost the risks where you can spend much more than you can actually gain with applying it. And this might be, for instance, having a too dense sensor network that is not necessary but costs a lot of money. So again, and we want to see actually more and more cities using this openly as a decision tool, but not just, I mean, very often I've seen, for instance, purely for transport or purely for one single topic. And I've seen it also with our colleagues from Utrecht, which I was very impressed by at the time, that they said, for instance, 3D is very important, but we are not redeveloping it from scratch. So they are actually partnering with the gaming industry to get something that they do so good for so many years, meaning really feeling into being into another virtual reality, and this so we can take so many pieces from all over the place that are already there, but we have to think that they actually fit perfectly in what we want to do with these digital twins, and then make the best decision-making support system that we can. Last but not least, I mean, I think sometimes this gamification actually is very helpful. I still would like to see that it's taken up more. I've seen many workshops where this is actually a part, but one of the things that we saw over the years is that the numbers that are engaging are still not as high as we wish. So I hope so that also with digital twins that are super cool and very attractive, that also this public interaction can be more intense and more fruitful, so that we can also really learn better before we start building things then afterwards. So that was just, this is just the statistics. So this is a 20 million call. We wanted 3 projects. We got these 3 projects, and they will be announced actually by the end of this year and start working then. So, and that's my last. So these are the questions that I would be really happy to discuss with you in Barcamp or just standing around here, because when developing these new kind of calls for proposals, obviously it's not happening in an ivory tower, so it's exactly going to specialists like you and having a good chat, and then understanding better what is already out there, what do we need, what makes actually the most sense at European level, because obviously there's a European research and innovation programs, so it's not just everything that makes sense, but on the European scale. And I also want to know if, as this is now already a very vivid community, are there already clusters that are working exactly on this, so projects that come together, cities that come together outside, obviously, of our project calls, and that we should be aware of and that you would like to share with us and connect. So, thank you very much.